I am a part of something bigger, a part of something beautiful.
As an autistic person, video games give me a place where I could be in a world that made sense to me.
I will tell you that all of my family play video games.
Me and my brothers, we would share the computer 1 hour at a time.
저는 제 와이프랑 게임을 가장 많이 해요.
I'm really enjoying playing video games with my dad.
My children.
My little sister. That connection between video games, allowing us to converse with each other, added a lot to our relationship.
Games like the World of Warcraft let me meet people that I probably never would have.
I can honestly say I met some of my best friends through playing games.
We have this connection that allows us to share our joys, to share our achievements, to share our growth together.
Every time I'm able to achieve something, I'm able to make myself proud.
Killing heroic Blackhand back in Warlords of Draenor was one of my favorite memories.
I managed to find that one hidden pylon with my one Mutalisk.
We beat hardcore Inferno Diablo.
I was able to hit gold in competitive in Overwatch.
I had someone say, oh, I can't lose to a girl. And I beat that guy.
So I was able to slay this warlock as a little gnome holy priest, freaking out and screaming the whole time.
Adrenaline through my body was going crazy.
Pela caminhada
Buonasera.
tão prazerosa e pela conquista ter vindo.
A gente se sentiu muito, caramba, a gente conseguiu algo incrível aqui.
I killed the Lich King! I killed the Lich King!
然后夺冠的时候，现场的女性工作人员，包括有些男的工作人员，他们都哭了。
Many years ago, I was doing a quest in Terracar Forest, and a lovely little mage came up and said, would you like a hand? They helped me for the rest of the day. We've been married now for over a decade.
Those video games filled a void. They filled the friendships that I didn't have. There isn't a huge LGBTQIA+ community in my city. So when I was able to play a video game, I was able to start talking with people who didn't really care that I was a gay male.
But video games were my escape. When I was a teenager, my dad was diagnosed with ALS, and I looked to video games as a way to escape from that sort of reality. Everything happens for a reason, and I'm just glad video games were there for me.
I'll never stop playing video games.
There's no way.
I imagine myself one day being an 80-year-old grandpa gamer.
Playing video games has shaped me. I don't think I would be who I am today.
My passion, my interest, my excitement, they belong.
Video games opened for me the world.
And because of that, I'm forever thankful.
And I can't wait to see what the next generation holds.
Ciao Rick, buonasera. Stasera ci guardiamo il BlizzCon.
Welcome to BlizzCon Line, a celebration of 30 years of Blizzard communities and 30 years of Blizzard games. 30 years is
Han fatto 30
so
anni.
many years, and last year maybe felt like one of the longest of all. But throughout the years of Blizzard Entertainment, from 1991 to today, many of us can associate certain games with milestones in our lives. Maybe you were a little kid the first time you played The Lost Vikings. Or in high school when you first played a Diablo game. Or maybe you met your partner while you were playing World of Warcraft. That's the awesome thing about video games. They give us experiences that are relevant to the times in our lives and experiences that we carry forward with us. Games are here for us during good times, and they're here for us even when we feel alone or maybe uncertain. Games are coming home, familiar, comfortable, with a connection and a sense of belonging. And while many of us spent most of 2020 in our actual real-life homes, games became even more of a place to get away, to be free from outside concerns, even if just for a little while. So, This is pretty weird. Usually, when we start BlizzCon, the opening call is to my favorite Warcraft faction, the Alliance.
E vai a fare in culo.
Or my favorite faction, the Horde. I get confused. Usually, I'd be speaking to 40,000 of you in person at the Anaheim Convention Center and millions of you around the world. And usually, that would be a perfect way to celebrate.
E 40.000 persone
The last year
mi piacerebbe
has been
andare.
usual. The pandemic has been hard on everyone, and for many different reasons. But if there's one thing that the last year has taught us, it's that being apart physically doesn't stop us from moving forward. It doesn't stop us from connecting with our player friends around the world, diving in as warriors and heroes, and checking on each other as humans.
Con World of Warcraft hanno fatto 12 milioni di
Sharing our
account.
latest epic gaming story. We're celebrating those of others. Games continue to unite us. Now, to be honest, I wasn't sure how well Blizzard could work from home. There are thousands of people, all needing to work together in creating our universes, games, and experiences. Never has it felt more true that it takes a Blizzard to make a Blizzard game. And in 2020, it became clear that the magic of creating at Blizzard isn't just tied to a physical location. It's tied to the people who work here, and I continue to be so proud of each and every one of them. Thank you, Blizzard. We create these games and pour all of our energy and heart into them, but it is you, the Blizzard community, that brings them to life. And that's why BlizzCon Line is a celebration of you, the guild leaders,
Cos'è? C'è un
healers,
gatto che rompe i coglioni.
DPS, tanks, innkeepers, Zerg, Terran, Protoss, Blackwatch, Shimada, the heroes of Sanctuary and of the Storm. These next few days are for you, our Blizzard community. For World of Warcraft, we'll be showing you what's next for both Shadowlands and Classic. I'm sure you're all burning in anticipation for that one.
Se la guarda anche lui.
Hearthstone is getting back to its roots in a major way. We can't wait to show you how. We also have news for our Diablo community. Some of you were able to dip your toes into the depths of hell in the Diablo Immortal Technical Alpha. I really enjoyed seeing players embrace the multiplayer aspect of meeting in town. We can't wait for more of you to get your hands on it. So, it's only the beginning of the year, and already there is so much to look forward to, even though we can't yet be together in person. The Overwatch League will be kicking things off in spring, and we'll be watching closely to see if the San Francisco Shock can continue their championship run. World of Warcraft esports is back with the Arena World Championship and Mythic Dungeon International already in full swing in Shadowlands. StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 esports are going strong with our friends at the ESL Pro Tour. And qualifiers are already underway for the first online stop of the 2021 Hearthstone Masters Tour, with the first event taking place next month.
No.
But before we get too far ahead, let's take a look one last time to when times were a little simpler. In the early 1990s, the internet was a baby. CD sales had finally eclipsed cassette tapes. Cassette tape, it's a rectangle piece of plastic, and there's a tape inside, and music would get recorded on, and sometimes you needed a pencil to wind it and make it tight. I know, it sounds crazy. We were all playing video games on Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, DOS, or Mac PCs. I personally was a master of config sys and auto exec bat. So many simple things in simple times. If only we could relive them.
Ciao caro, buonasera.
The stage is set. The green flag drops. Let the carnage begin. Holy Toledo! What a collection!
I primi giochi della Blizzard.
Now we're talking. What a play! Crank up the volume! Unbelievable! Whoa!
Tutto bene, in realtà mi rompe i coglioni. Alla fine mi sono arrivate le cuffie nuove, le sto utilizzando. Se no continuo a mordermi il cavolo, rompere i coglioni. Questo qua è il BlizzCon.
The Blizzard Arcade Collection, featuring the Lost Vikings, Rock and Roll Racing, and Blackthorn. These are ports of the games just as you remember them, allowing you to relive the original experience of all three titles in 13 different languages, with a couple of quality of life upgrades. As an example, we include very modern, cutting-edge functionality that wasn't available in the early 90s, both saving and loading of games. And for those of you who purchased any Blizzard Digital Anniversary Bundle via Battle.net, you'll automatically receive the Blizzard Arcade Collection on PC today. Now, you ready to hear about some other video games? Let's hear what's next for World of Warcraft.
Non ho capito, me la danno gratis questa. Figa.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. No matter where you are, World of Warcraft unites us all. Whether you're exploring the Shadowlands, classic Azeroth, or another part of the Blizzard universe, I'm glad you could make it, because we've got a lot of good stuff to show you. But first, let's start with some Covenant pride. Kyrian, take flight. Night Fae, let the hunt begin. Necrolords, to war!
Cos'è che è successo?
Let's party! The world has thrown a lot at us since the last BlizzCon, and the thing that's really kept everyone going on the WoW team has been connecting with all of you. The bonds we forge with our guilds and family and friends in WoW are powerful and real. As WoW enters its 16th year and Blizzard celebrates its 30th anniversary, we're so grateful to have the most dedicated and friendly communities in gaming. Let's recap the events in Azeroth. In WoW Classic, we fought an endless battle for South Shore and Tauren Mill. We banded together to open the gates of Ahn'Qiraj and joined forces to take down Kel'Thuzad in his floating citadel of Naxxramas. In Shadowlands, we helped our Covenant recover from the Anima drought, brought on by Sire Denathrius, master of the Venthyr and traitor to the Pantheon of Death. We survived the halls of Torghast and crafted legendary gear in our efforts to expel Denathrius from his castle lair. But innocent souls are still wrongfully being sent to the Maw. They face an eternity of torment, and heroes like Anduin remain chained in its
Mi
depths.
dispiace.
The jailer continues to grow in power. He's preparing to break free from the Maw and complete his plan to unmake the entire Warcraft universe. And Sylvanas, you may be wondering what she's been up to all this time. Today, we're excited to unveil our first major content update for Shadowlands, Chains of Domination.
E poi c'è un nuovo raid.
Look around you! What makes you believe you're not just a weapon to achieve his ends?
Enough! Join our cause, or be made to serve.
Right now, you hold all the power. Make your choice, Sylvanas Windrunner.
Despite all our efforts, the maw continues to grow. What if Denathrius' treachery is irreparable? The Primus is lost, and Bastion cannot save the Shadowlands alone.
None of this should have happened.
Perhaps the Winter Queen could...
My Archon, a living soul seeks an audience.
A mortal?
A king. By all our measures, one who has spent his life striving for justice. One who would give anything to serve his people. One whose heart is true.
Very well. He may approach. Step forward. My Ascended have spoken of you. The king, held captive in the maw.
That prison could not hold me forever.
Why have you come to Bastion?
You have a key that I need.
You will release this soul from your grasp.
No. He is bound to me.
Just as you once sought to bind your own brother. The vessel performed its part flawlessly. 3 keys remain. Then they will see.
Mi spiace tanto.
Was never meant to be chained.
That is so intense. I know you probably have a lot of questions about what you just saw and what it means for the next stage.
Dovete comunque andare a parlare con la...
Later today, my teammates
quella che
Ian
ti ha
and
dato
Jeremy
il
will be telling you
mangiare,
more about
scusami.
Chains of Domination in our Shadowlands update. Please check out the World of Warcraft channel to find out more. Next, I'm excited to share our upcoming World of Warcraft charity pet program. We've heard a lot from our community about how much they love these pets and the opportunity to give to a good cause, along with ideas to make the program even better. So during this upcoming campaign, you'll be able to donate whatever amount you wish to directly support our chosen charity. Once donations reach our goal, everyone playing World of Warcraft will get a pet for their collection as a thank you, whether you were able to contribute personally or not. And to make this a fun challenge, if we reach a stretch goal, everyone gets a second pet too. And here they are. The first pet is Bananas, literally. He was originally available to a select few back in Burning Crusade era, so we're excited to give everyone a chance to adopt him. And if we reach our stretch goal, you'll also get Daisy the Sloth. She's an all-new pet who'll hang around your neck when you need a hug. Your donations during this campaign will go to support the medical humanitarian organization Doctors Without Borders, also known by their French name, Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF. They're an amazing group doing important work around the world. We're grateful to have such a generous community, and we hope you'll help support this worthy cause. We'll be sharing the details about the charity pet program on the World of Warcraft website.
Bene, bella iniziativa.
So we've talked quite a bit about Shadowlands. Classic players, now it's your turn. It's my pleasure to hand off to my teammate, Holly Longdale. She's a longtime WoW player, a veteran MMO developer, and she's going to tell us what's in store for WoW Classic.
Hi, everybody. First, I'd like to thank all of you who have ever been part of the WoW community over the years. You know, online worlds like WoW have been a huge part of our lives for decades now. As a dedicated MMO fan and a developer myself, I remember hearing that Blizzard was going to be making their own MMO. And I thought, well, I guess I'll check out that beta. And sure, we all call the game WoW, but really, wow. I could not believe I got bit by the MMO bug again. I was so excited to be able to make a night elf hunter and be like that famous dark elf ranger from the books that I loved. I have to tell you, Azeroth was, and still is, a place I love to live. Since last year, I've had the great honor to work alongside the WoW Classic team to bring these nostalgic experiences back to life for longtime fans and a whole new generation of players. As a fan myself, I've had so much fun in WoW. From the simple things like drive-by buffing or making friends on that long haul from Teldrassil to Ironforge, all the way to the absolutely staggering, like when I jumped blindly through the dark portal and was running through Hellfire Peninsula, heard this terrifying noise, and then saw the Fell Reaver. Biggest roamer I had ever seen, and I was very glad I had feigned death in that moment. And that's the thing about WoW. These stories and experiences we all share keep us coming back time after time. With that said, I'm super excited to be able to share with you where our adventures are taking us next.
You dare enter my realm.
ATPC. Io ho giocato a questo gioco 12 anni fa. Che non ricordo.
Your foolishness has brought you to this end. Take my blood and choke on it.
Death to the outsiders!
I'll turn your world upside down.
You are not prepared.
brings back so many memories, right? Like exploring the fungal forests of Zangarmarsh, or being awestruck at the chaotic magic alive in Netherstorm, the Draenei in Exodar, the Blood Elves in Silvermoon. I love playing them both. Do you choose to enlist the Aldor or the Scryers in your quest to fight the Legion? And of course, we can't forget gathering all your friends to fight Illidan at the top of the Black Temple. I can't wait to relive it all with you. Since the team first set out on their own quest to bring the original WoW back to life, we have learned a ton about what players are expecting from this kind of experience. We've also learned when to keep things just as they were, and where we all might be open to some changes. We're bringing all these lessons into Burning Crusade Classic, with our primary goal to bring back the same feeling you had when you faced the Fel Reaver for the first time, or when you were digging through piles of Felhound poop. Of course, we can't get this right without you, our incredible community. Soon, you'll be able to revisit Outland yourself when beta starts and tell us what you think. Later, all WoW Classic players are going to be presented with a meaningful choice for each one of your beloved characters. Do you want to move on into Burning Crusade Classic? Or do you want to stay in the original Classic era forever? Whatever you decide, you can do it all with your one WoW subscription. Now, I know I've thrown a lot at you, but don't worry. We'll be getting into the details in our panel later today. So
in quel
stick with
caso
us.
forse dovevi...
We'll make
Ma
sure
tu ce li
you
avevi già
are
avuti? Non li
prepared.
avevi già avuti, scusami,
And now
animali di
we're
questo
going to
tipo?
hear what's coming up in Hearthstone.
In quel caso forse ti conveniva prima informarti anche tipo da un veterinario per sapere cosa mangia. Mi sembra che tu li avessi già avuti, no?
Greetings. We're truly excited to share with you everything that's coming to
No, ce
Hearthstone
ne
this
frega
year.
niente.
But first, let's take a quick look back at the year of the Phoenix. We added our first new class, the Demon Hunter, and ventured into the ruthless Outlands. Then we went to Skullman's Academy and got to explore dual-class cards and their powerful synergies. And with our third expansion of the year, we brought you Hearthstone's biggest update ever, alongside the menacing old gods in Madness at the Dark Moon Fair. We launched a brand new game mode, Duels, that saw more than 10 million matches on its first day. We also introduced our long-awaited achievement system to the rewards and progression within the game.
Alle 3, minchia. E Diablo? Ok, e niente, bisogna aspettare. Ma che palle!
Over the last couple of years, we've made big changes to Hearthstone. Throughout the year of the Griffin, we want to keep delivering fun, new experiences and make sure that the tens of millions of you playing Hearthstone are always excited to log in. First up, we'll be giving the standard format its biggest shake-up ever, with the launch of the Core Set later this year. The Core Set replaces the old Basic and Classic sets with a collection of 235 cards made up of some of the best from throughout the years, as well as 29 awesome brand new cards. And the best thing about the Core Set is that it's entirely free. So, there's never been a better time to get into Hearthstone. Here are 3 of Hearthstone's legendary dragons, reimagined to feel more up-to-date and competitive for modern-day Hearthstone. Ysera the Dreamer. You'll finally receive her full arsenal of dream cards right away. She's a nightmare for your opponents. Malygos the Spellweaver. He'll fill your hand with spells and is a powerful late-game play, worthy of the aspect of magic.
Oh, buonasera Diana, come stai?
Everyone's favorite black dragon, Deathwing. He's still as destructive as ever, but timed correctly, he won't leave you
C'è un gioco che non sopporto Hearthstone.
We'll also be launching a brand new format, Classic. where you can play Hearthstone as it was when it first launched. The classic format will be fully supported, complete
Però mi
with
ero
ranks
informato
and
da diversi
rewards
forum.
using Hearthstone's original set of cards. So, if you want to relive the old school experience,
Guarda.
then Classic is the place for you.
O magari sono
With
anche
Classic
delicati.
revisiting the past, now
Bene, può
let's take a
essere,
look
no?
to the future and explore the
Tutto
first
bene, cara, tutto
expansion
bene.
of the year
Ho
of
deciso
the
di
Griffin.
fare... E di fare la... di vedermi il BlizzCon con voi.
All roads lead to the crossroads. You have come for adventure.
Oh, alla fine ha fatto 30 anni. La Blizzard festeggia 30 anni.
To break you. Your axe must be sharp. Your wits must be keen. And your heart must be
C'è un
mighty.
gatto che mi sta uccidendo. È una roba incredibile. Se no, le 24 ore su 24, cazzo mi mordi i piedi.
And honor. This is who we are.
That's right. We're headed to one of Warcraft's most iconic locales, the Barrens, and we'll come face to face with the heroes that inhabit it. Starting with one of the Horde's most iconic and well-known characters, a fierce loyalist, one-time war chief that embodies the honor, loyalty, and spirituality
Ben
of
considera
the
che sono
Horde.
cose che secondo me possono succedere, magari è delicato come animaletto, capito?
Shadowhunter Vol'jin is a neutral legendary that allows you to either bolster your own board or weaken that of your opponents. And to celebrate the announcement of Forged in the Barrens, this card is available for free for everyone later today.
Diana
So log
Lupen gli
into
è morto
Hearthstone,
stasera
claim your free copy
il
of
Deku del
Shadowhunter
Cile.
Vol'jin.
Da quanto ce l'avevi? Una
And
settimana?
as a bonus, we're also giving away the brand new 30 years of Blizzard card back.
Buonasera Roby.
Next, we have another hero of the Horde who is making his first appearance in Hearthstone.
Ero
The
fuori sul
legendary
balcone
Blade
prima.
Master Samuro, featuring the new keyword Frenzy. Frenzy activates the first time a minion takes damage and survives. In Samuro's case, this can be used to clear your opponent's board. Heroes of the Horde, like Samuro, are famous for their combat prowess, but others, like Thrall, are known for their powerful elemental magic.
E io comunque magari dopo questa cosa non la lascerei cadere, Ben, faglielo presente perché è
Chain
un
Lightning
competente.
is a spell in a new cycle of cards that rank up and become more powerful when you have 5 and
Scusa
10
se
mana,
cambio discorso, ma queste
ensuring
cuffie
that
qua
they're always useful
sono una
at
meraviglia.
every stage in the
C'è più
game.
il gatto che mi si appende qua a tirarmi.
You'll also notice that they're categorized as nature spells. With Forged in the Barrens, we'll be permanently introducing spell schools across the entire game, which enables a whole host of exciting new strategies. And don't worry, members of the Alliance
mica
will
un
be
mese.
featuring some of your most beloved heroes and locales later this year. But what I love most about the Warcraft universe is its amazing characters. And our final announcement is our most ambitious addition to Hearthstone yet. It introduces a brand new way to play with your favorite heroes. Hearthstone Mercenaries. Mercenaries features strategic RPG gameplay, where you build teams consisting of some of the most iconic heroes and villains from
Se
the
non
Warcraft
fosse
universe,
chiaro, sono tornati in scimmia con
timeless
World of
characters
Warcraft,
like the
ma
infamous
pesantemente.
Sylvanas Windrunner, and Ragnaros, the elemental
E con
lord of
Valheim,
fire.
Valheim devo dire che ci sta.
You can also expect to see some of Hearthstone's fan favorites, like the unstoppable Devilsaur, King Crush, and the ever-growing Gruul the Dragon Slayer.
Ho eliminato anche il microfono, ho detto se va bene questo, vado avanti con questo.
Where the map is randomly generated every time you play, and each node represents a unique challenge for your teams to take on. Your heroes gain levels, new abilities, equipment, and can even evolve into more powerful versions of themselves. We're thrilled to finally show you Hearthstone Mercenaries. It is scheduled to launch later this year, and we'll have more to share with you down the road. Everything you've seen today is just a taste of what's coming in the Year of the Griffin. So don't forget to tune in to our deep dive panel after the opening ceremony, where we'll share more details on the core set, the new classic format, Forged in the Barrens, and our plans for Battlegrounds and Duels, as well as our upcoming single-player content. I want to thank the team for their amazing work. And on behalf of all of us at Hearthstone, we want to thank the many millions of you who play our game. Your dedication and support is what
non ho mai fatto
drives us
niente
to
per
make awesome
console,
updates
davvero?
and pursue ambitious and fun ideas. We can't wait
Vabbè,
to kick off the
Hearthstone lo
Year of the
giochi dove
Griffin
vuoi.
with all of you, and we hope to see you
StarCraft
in
non
the
c'è
game
per
soon.
console.
Next up, you'll get an update on all things Diablo.
Eccola. Vediamo un po'.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I am so excited to kick off the Diablo segment of our show, and I am honored to be here on behalf of all of our Diablo teams to share the news and updates we have in store for you today.
We've got a lot of Diablo to cover, and I hope you'll agree with me that it's a great time to be a member of this community. All right, let's kick things off with Diablo 4. We first shared our game with you during BlizzCon of 2019, and we've been truly humbled by your response. We've kept in touch through quarterly updates and sincerely appreciate the thoughts and valuable feedback you've provided as we unveil more and more of the game and share in its development. After all, Diablo belongs to you as much as it belongs to us. Most recently, we teased an update to our campfire screen, and savvy fans, of course, understood that we meant more than just the character lighting and fire visual effects. That's right. Today, we're happy to announce a brave new soul joining the barbarian, the sorcerer, and the druid on this dangerous journey back to Sanctuary. A class is one of the most exciting things you can announce in a Diablo game. This one is especially exciting to me, as it's a re-envisioning of one of the first classes to ever appear in the series.
Let's have a look.
Your prayers do not fall on deaf ears.
Non c'è The Last of Us per PC. Non c'è Warcraft per console.
But you have to be patient. Now, pray with me. May Akarat guide and protect me.
May Akarat guide and protect me.
May he shepherd my soul.
May he shepherd my soul.
I video di Diablo sono sempre una roba esagerata.
Mercy. What are you doing here? This is not the time.
But this is confession. And I have sinned. I was a thief who stole from those more fortunate. I strayed from your light and found my trade in the shadows. They call it murder. I say,
Davvero?
Well done.
E non lo so, io l'ho sempre visto. Mi sembra un gran bel gioco. Per giocarlo non ci ho mai giocato.
I am a thief, a heretic, a murderer, Father. Will Akarat save me?
You mock our light. but those monsters were a scourge upon my flock. And you were the answer to their prayers.
Then we are settled, and you owe me.
The name you seek is... Thank the heavens for you.
Heavens? I assure you, Father, the heavens didn't send me.
Per tutti a giocare là. Ciao cavaliere, sto guardando il BlizzCon. Adesso stanno facendo vedere Diablo 4.
Just the sound of that ear getting pierced by the hook is so brutal. I feel like it's gonna haunt me for a long time. I've been a huge fan of the rogue ever since the original Diablo. Even seeing them come back as NPCs and mercenaries in Diablo 2's Rogue Encampment served as a great bridge between the games. With the setting of Diablo 4 being a larger world than we've ever played in before, we're excited to show you not just what the successors to the original rogues in the series have been up to since the fall of their order, but also what some of the other rogues in the world of Sanctuary might look like. The mantra for Diablo 4 has been customization first, and the rogue takes this to a whole new level. From the beginning, the rogue has been an incredibly flexible class, able to adapt to any situation. Our goal is to let you create the kind of rogue that you want to play. Whether it's an unrivaled archer modeled after the original Sisterhood, or a cloak and dagger rogue from the darkest alleys of Chaldeum, in Diablo 4, you will have the freedom to create the rogue that you imagine by customizing the looks, the background, and the playstyle of your character. Please stick around for our segment later today, where I'll be joined by other members of the Diablo 4 team to share a closer look at the rogue class, as well as some of the open world gameplay that we're bringing to the game. Spoilers, those severed ears are not just for show. But Diablo 4 is not the only Diablo game we're talking about today. If you're looking for an authentic Diablo experience on mobile, we've got you covered. Diablo Immortal has everything you'd expect from a AAA action RPG. From the visceral combat and epic loot to an all-new story, bridging the gap between the events of Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Later today, you can join the Immortal team, where they'll talk about some of the things they've learned from their recent alpha test and what's next for the game. But that's still not all. We have one last bit of very exciting Diablo news to cover. When you hear us talk about the classes, the items, or the stories of the early Diablo games, you may have picked up on the absolute reverent tone we reserve for that golden era of Diablo. Maybe you share that love of the classics, and just hearing us talk about them makes you want to take on Mephisto or Baal one more time, or maybe even for the first time. After all, some of our favorite moments happened a long time ago, and not just in Sanctuary years. If so, we have a special surprise for you today. Let's check it out.
No, non ci sono i sottotitoli in italiano purtroppo. Sì.
Though this be our darkest hour, it may yet be your greatest moment.
Sì, se vai su YouTube lo vedi anche tu, se fai BlizzCon online 2021. Che io li ho giocati tutti. Ecco qua. Quello che ci vedo. E in console hanno aggiornato la grafica, giocheremo sti denti. Non ci sono cavaliere, guarda.
After more than 20 years, the Dark Wanderer has returned. And once again, he travels east. Always east.
Faccio vedere, sottotitoli.
Diablo 2 is a landmark game for Blizzard. Diablo 2 Resurrected is a full HD remaster of both the original game and the expansion, Lord of Destruction. It takes the 2D sprite-based classic that we love and brings it into the present in 3D, utilizing up-to-date graphical rendering and lighting technologies. It also includes modernizing all 27 minutes of cinematics, recreated shot for shot with the explicit intention of preserving both the look and the pacing of the original movies. Blizzard has a long history of games that we're proud of. And when we think about Diablo 2, we think about it as a definitive pillar in our foundation. Now, it's funny to think that some of you weren't even born when D2 was released, which makes it all the more important that we deliver an authentic experience wherever you play. We want everyone to relive their memories or experience the game for the very first time on their platform of choice. And so we're excited to bring Diablo 2 Resurrected to PC and console, along with cross-progression.
Il fatto che con World of Warcraft Classic rifanno le stesse cose.
On modern computers, you can bring back all of that nostalgia exactly as you remember and enjoy the game in its original 2D form, much like we did with StarCraft Remastered.
Te lo puoi giocare pure in 2D.
There's a lot to talk about. Later today, Diablo speedrunner Mr. Llama will host a roundtable with members of the
Qua si stanno rivolgendo a quelli come me che l'hanno giocato anni fa.
If you are a Diablo 2 fan, I encourage you to take a look. So, from Diablo 2 Resurrected to Burning Crusade Classic to the Blizzard Arcade Collection, it's a whole lot of looking back. And while we have teams dedicated to bringing these timeless experiences into your hands, it's actually a very small percentage of our developers working on these projects. Far more people are working on the future of Blizzard. And in addition to what we'll be talking about during the show, we can't wait to tell you even more about our plans over the course of this year and beyond. If you had asked us 30 years ago what gaming would look like today, none of us could have predicted the current Blizzard lineup of games. The advances in technology are one thing, but it's really what those advances have enabled that's even more incredible. If you think about the people who play games and the communities that have grown up around them, the way people can connect instantly, no matter where they are in the world, the way people are increasingly able to express their identity and celebrate who they are through their favorite
Scusa,
games,
prova a farlo tu. Tu lo vedi con i sottotitoli in italiano sul tuo YouTube.
the explosion of things like streaming, cosplay, and esports. It would have been hard to imagine any of that 30 years ago.
Io se mi dovessi fare un tatuaggio, la prima cosa che farei è lo stemma dell'Orda qua. Ma proprio qui.
So much that we're working on. And some of it you already know about. The rest, we look forward to talking to you about it when the time is right. Just like the real world, the worlds of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, and Hearthstone.
Comunque perde rispetto a vedere la gente lì senza pubblico, gli stacchi continui della regia, la gente, capito, che i fanboy tutti lì sotto che sbavano. Qua ti spari un polpettone di sto qua.
And we aspire to continue to lead on priorities like accessibility and toxicity control, and to continue supporting causes that have a positive impact on the real world.
Minchia, fatti 5 minuti di Overwatch. Altro che gente tossica.
That we all felt when we first defeated the Lich King, or beat Diablo on hardcore mode. Because when we geek out on those experiences with others, we can't help but see the
Lo stai leggendo in italiano?
and feel what's possible when we play together. Of course, there are new Blizzard worlds that we haven't visited quite yet. And when we do finally unveil those games and experiences, our hope is that you will see in them what we do. That no matter who you are or where you're from, they are spaces where you can create new stories, forge new friendships, and make memories worthy of lasting a lifetime. Through it all, our mission statement of being dedicated to creating the most epic entertainment experiences ever, along with our core values.
Faccio F5. Vediamo. Questo.
To serve you, and the honor of all of us at Blizzard to be the caretakers of the worlds that you play in.
Ce li ho solo così.
We are so excited for what's to come this year, next year, and the next 30 years. Now,
Anzi, ma non ce ne ho più.
what's coming next for the show? Well, it depends on where you watch. For those of you looking for an update on Overwatch, check out the behind-the-scenes look into the development of Overwatch 2 over on their dedicated channel right after the conclusion of opening ceremonies. There, you'll hear about Overwatch 2, new content, new features, including new maps, hero missions, talent trees, and more of what we think will make Overwatch 2 a unique gameplay experience. For World of Warcraft, Diablo, and Hearthstone, you'll get a closer look on their respective channels. And on the dedicated strategy channel, some StarCraft legends will be going head-to-head in epic competition. Once again, welcome to BlizzCon Line. Be good to one another. Welcome home.
Ecco.
Before we kick things off, here's a little something from a previous BlizzCon headliner.
Hey, thanks for having us. We're Metallica. Thanks for having us at BlizzCon 2014. We would love to be there this year, but obviously can't be.
Mi fai la canzone in Metallica, io non posso farla sentire.
Here we are, and this is for you.
Può voler dire è stata una scelta semplicemente di tempo, di spazio, per quanto mi sembra strano, oppure forse non hanno
Tutto quello che vuoi, caro. Twitch, questo tipo su YouTube non lo posso mettere. YouTube te la forza anche a volume bassissimo. gatto, metto, vorrei ricordarlo per sempre.
Your death will.
Eccola.
Morta Vespa Gaia Inu.
Help! Help!
By the power!
Strike with great vengeance! You are not prepared! Frostmourne hungers for your soul.
Eccola.
Your time has come.
Che bello che mostra.
Strange.
Sembrano i disegni di cose, come si chiama?
Greetings to you.
Dai quell'italiano.
Seems you're ready for the real thing.
Sì, oh.
Watch your back.
F it up!
Hey, look at me!
Oh, looks like we got an audience.
I'm getting good at this. I am in the groove.
Turret online.
Surprise!
Piece of cake.
Minchia. Sì, 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 sì. Trent'anni, facevo un applauso alla Blizzard. 30 anni, complimenti. Bravi, bravi. Vedi, questo qua te lo mettono per la PlayStation. Minchia, quanti ricordi.
Welcome, everyone, to our deep dive panel for WoW Classic. I'd like to start with some introductions with these fine gentlemen with me and myself. I'm Holly Longdale. I'm the principal producer for WoW Classic. A little bit about my background. I spent 13 years working on EverQuest. I started as a game designer and eventually became the head of the studio for the EverQuest franchise. That said, I've always been a WoW player since beta. So this is obviously a dream come true for me, and I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I'm Patrick Dawson. I'm the production director for World of Warcraft. I've been at Blizzard for 15 years now, and have been on WoW for most of that time. Avid WoW player myself, and really excited to open up that dark portal again as we all step through it.
And my name's Brian Birmingham, and I'm the lead software engineer on WoW Classic.
I've also been at Blizzard for 15 years. I started on World of Warcraft. I spent about 3 years on Hearthstone as well, and then came back to the World of Warcraft team to work on WoW Classic. And it has been a great joy to me to work on this team.
There's a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
So earlier we announced, yay, Burning Crusade Classic is coming. But there's a lot more to it. Let's take a look at the features, because wow. I mean, wow, right? Wow. I was so excited by playing Draenei and Blood Elves. I played both, and I will say my heart's with Alliance. And I also took up jewel crafting on my Draenei Shaman. I wanted to corner the market. Just the whole notion of having items with sockets and just exploring that whole system. I'm also a bit of a systems nerd. So I completely lost my time for weeks in there.
Quando ho cominciato ad avere gli incubi per un videogioco,
I remember being there back then. I mean, it was our first expansion ever. So all the
gli
new
incubi no,
features
però me lo
was
sognavo
like
la notte, avevo
this
15
really cool
anni.
moment of like
No.
what's coming
Sì,
next, what's going to
quindi
happen. And one of the things that you know was
Sì,
pretty
15
impactful in
anni
the game was Horde
ero
having
in
paladins
Brasile
and Alliance having
e mi
shaman.
sognavo di notte le
I mean,
musiche
as an avid
di
PvPer myself,
UFO.
I remember going back and trying to fight shaman. I was Alliance back then. And just not understanding that class at all, because my team didn't have it. So like I try to poly them and then be like grounding totem. I didn't know what that was. And it's just like, why are shaman immune to everything? I don't understand.
That's not what you said.
Yeah,
Cioè,
no, but no,
capito?
I did.
Ero in
No, you
Brasile,
said
c'avevo tutto a 15 anni, tu figurati.
I understood polymorph.
E quello che mi sognavo la notte
But shaman,
erano le
why?
musiche del gioco.
Like now I started to understand shaman a little bit better. We got some of their benefits. You know, I actually like got to see totems being placed down on my side for once, and got to see the frustration of dealing with bubble heart on the other.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing raids, we were always jealous of the Alliance having paladins for Blessing of Salvation. Like people would be pulling aggro off me, and I'd be yelling at them like, "Wait for 3 Sunders!" And the Alliance just like, "No, it's no problem. Just just go."
Yep. So hey, I mean, you know, we were upset raiding like Razorgore without Earthbind. I mean, it really evened the playing field for both PvE and PvP, which was kind of cool. But there were a ton of new features and just abilities with this too. You know, as we got to level 70 and got to experience new things. I remember one of my first experiences with understanding.
C'è la scimmia da andare a giocare.
Like designed by Blizzard, right?
Oh,
Because I was an engineer, right? I wasn't a designer. I was working on like the live ops team at the time, and you know, I was playing my class, avid player of Mage, and I kept I sent this long email to Tom Chilton saying like, hey, you know, here's what Mage needs.
Dawson Manifesto.
Non sono stato a chiedervi tante cose perché tanto ci sentiamo o via WhatsApp o via Discord.
Bring back invisibility. Let's get a threat dump in the class, and I didn't even necessarily tie those two together. But he was like, "That's a pretty good idea. Let's get mages invisibility." And just knowing that skill was coming along with some other new stuff for mages, like the Mountain Armor, the Ice Lances, was just really cool to see all this new stuff in Burning Crusade.
On the other side of that, I was really excited about Spell Reflect because I was really frustrated with polymorphed and being able to like reflect that back on the mage.
As a mage, I was not excited for you to get
I bet you weren't. And there were even some PvE encounters that had abilities that you could reflect back. So I remember that was really fun to kind of find ways to time that and use it as a defensive ability as well.
I was a hunter.
Mm-hmm. I'm a hunter
also
now,
a hunter.
actually. Yeah, I've switched.
But I remember just chasing Beastmaster and just DPS.
Yep.
That was it. That was the chase. Yeah.
Talking about that too makes me think of like the arenas.
Sì, l'unica che faceva cagare era il druido fiera.
With battlegrounds and the way they worked before, like the way the matchmaking happened. Usually, I was pretty competitive in PvP, so I would either get in there and stomp the enemy team, who was just there to be casual, or you know, even though like we were a good team, we weren't like the best of the best.
Il
So
prato
when
di
we
Lich
ended up
King
playing
era
against one
fiera
of those teams, it was just like, well, geez, we're just getting stomped now. This is tough. Arenas gave everyone an opportunity to play against equal-minded opponents, right? So if you were a little bit more casual, you get the opportunity to play against people who weren't maybe so competitive. Or if you were like cutting edge, go for it. Like try to be the best of the best. And what was great about that is it spawned an esport. Like that wasn't, we didn't design it for that. We just wanted people to have fun. But when we noticed like, hey, everybody's playing this, everybody's like competing in this, people are watching it, we had to embrace that. We started featuring it at BlizzCon, and we've been doing it every year since.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I think one of my favorite things to recollect was the exciting zones that you would travel through. One of my favorite memories was actually in the first zone, Hellfire Peninsula, and it was adventuring around in Hellfire Peninsula, going around and doing all those quests, and always living in fear of the Fell Reaper. Because
Questa
you'd
luce
be
a
out there
manetta.
collecting parts from like a broken
No, è il
Zeppelin,
minimo.
and you'd be fighting off your Hellbores, and then all of a sudden you'd see the screen start to shake, and like these thump,
Non
thump,
casca.
and then
Eccola. Ma a me non ha fatto tutta questa
he's right on
impressione.
top of me.
Sound still haunts my dreams.
Oh, I know, yeah, it's terrifying.
Even in life, it's just feign death.
Yeah,
Like, as soon as you hear it, feign death.
yeah, just get out of here. And then the payoff when you later go to Netherstorm and they give you the quest, they're like, could you get me a part from inside the Fell Reaver? You're going to have to kill him. And you're like, that guy? Like that guy that used to terrorize me? They're like, yeah, I think you could take him now. And that was such an exciting payoff to be able to like bring that full circle and go back and see him again.
For me, I snuck into beta. I got really lucky because I could see the construction sign for some of the zones, and of course I ignored it and went and explored. So I remember running through Blade's Edge and just seeing dragon carcasses and skeletons impaled in the environment, and then moving on to Netherstorm. I just was blown away, even from Zangermarsh all the way through. Everything felt like its own world, and just be able to go through that and just the delight of it and the epicness of it. And then you come up to Area 52. That's what I love about WoW, is you can have epic storylines and still find lightness in it. So I just loved it. I love it. I'm an explorer, so.
You know, for me, I remember Burning Crusade really opened up a new gameplay type for me. I became a collector in Burning Crusade, right? And it kind of started with the Outdoor and Scryer rep. Because I got my outer rep all the way up, and then I was thinking about switching to Scryer, and people were like, "You're insane! Don't do that." And I was like, "I bet I can." Just to prove people wrong. And I did, and it was cool. It was really fun. But then I started doing other things. Like there were all these new like mounts and pets, and I went back and even got some of the older reps like Thorium Brotherhood and Winterspring. But then like things like Netherwing Ledge came out. The world just opened up for me in Burning Crusade to really start my collection.
Of course, we also had flying mounts, which I loved, and then decided to play with some friends on a PvP server, and was running around Hellfire, and Death from Above, which is likely just Pat.
Probably.
Yeah.
Were you flying around harassing people, Pat?
I was getting a lot of honorable kills back in the day.
For 13 years. And
hands, you could feel the ammo running out as you're getting lower on the clip. We've really tried to amplify those sounds to better encapsulate the gameplay and the gunplay that comes with Overwatch 2. Another key for the weapons was getting them to feel like they're in the environment. This meant working with convolution reverb. It's a new system that we've implemented into Overwatch. It's a way that we can capture the acoustics of an environment and transport it onto the sounds that we're using. So we went and captured tales of guns in different environments through our weapon shoots.
Buono. L'hai preso bene?
And then we've cut them and applied it so that we can support a lot more environments. Now we're supporting outdoor, urban outdoor, warehouse tales, tight tunnels, small rooms, and it gives a lot more presence to the weapons and the way that they react in the world.
The shooter genre has evolved a lot since Overwatch 1 came out.
Tutto qua sembra
On top of
ha
that, I
fatto il
think we really
computer
want to push
grafica.
the visceral nature of how we do combat. So we focused a lot, not just on the wonderful sound effects, but also with how the gun moves as you shoot. So you can really feel every single shot leaving the chamber. And there's a lot of subtle little tweaks we have to do on the gameplay engineering side to make that feel really visceral. Everything from making sure that the camera shakes are crisp, making sure that if you get shot, you know exactly these tight indicators show up on the outside of your reticle. All these things play into making the game feel not just tight and responsive, but also modern and up to date. Take 76, for example. What we wanted to do in Overwatch 2 with his weapon was make it really feel incredibly powerful, and that happens with a bunch of different elements that mix together. But it really feels like the gun is almost just outside of your control.
Grazie per il ride, buonasera.
This camera shake technology, where every time you fire the weapon, you want to feel like it's running through your entire body, and the camera shake gives that extra bite.
Ci stiamo guardando il BlizzCon.
It makes him feel really great.
You guys got a sneak peek of Sojourn from last BlizzCon. She's been
Grazie per il
for quite
follow.
a while, and she's actually quickly at this point become a lot of people's favorites in-house. When we look back at Overwatch, when it was originally created, there was a lot of heroes that were made from a gameplay standpoint, kind of surrounding a weapon type. For example, Pharah was based on a rocket launcher hero. Widowmaker is clearly like kind of the sniper. We thought there was a weapon that was kind of
Però a sto
missing that would be a lot of fun to
ci
play
andiamo
with,
a
and that's
guardare
a
un po' di più
railgun.
di Diablo
It's
che
so
ora
much fun in
inizia.
playtest to have this really powerful shot that can.
So you could be a combo points, ranged, or melee player, but you could also be an exploit weakness,
Dopo di
ranged,
me,
or melee, or
grandissimo
hybrid player.
buonasera
This gives
ragazzi.
the class such huge variety in builds and playstyles.
E Diablo 4? C'è un nuovo raid, hanno aperto un nuovo pezzo di World of Warcraft Shadowlands. Hearthstone, altra roba, ma non lo seguo perché non mi piace.
It's a scimitar, right? If you're up in Scotland, which is up in the north, it's more of like a broadsword. It's this sort of like this. It's a subtle thing, but I think it really, different armors that you get in different regions look like they're from the place. And so giving that sense of place in the world is something that I every time I play the game, I feel it, I see it in just like subtle ways, and just
Io
really
sono tornato in
enhances the
scimmia a
overall
World
sense
of
of
Warcraft.
immersion and experience, and I just want to see what's around the corner.
The weapons are also like going back all the way to Diablo
Solo
2,
che
just such an
richiede
integral part of
troppo
the
tempo.
class, and the ability to augment your weapon through magic, through enhancements, is just something that really spoke to us when we try to tap into the core of the class. Going back to those mercenaries
Mi
that
sono
you
messo a
could
fare le
hire,
quest in
it was
giro
always
per
kind of cool to see what kind of
l'espansione.
special arrow shot they would come with. And it's something we paid homage to with the imbue system, all the way from directly elemental imbues like the frost imbue, which feels a lot like the ice arrows that the D2 mercenaries used to shoot, all the way to we expanded it to feel a little grittier, a little darker, into things like poison imbue and shadow imbue. Just the ability to take
Hanno messo Rogue
any sort of attack and kind of mix and match with those imbues.
in Diablo 4.
That kind of clicked for me, that I could take any ability and imbue it with either of those elements. Rain of Arrows with frost and Rain of Arrows with acid is completely different, right? Like you're essentially freezing the battlefield, and then I just love poison imbue because of the gruesome deaths that all the monsters experience. And we've had a ton of fun making that art, so it's always fun to kind of see just to feel the goatman melt into nothing. You just kill everything on the
È una
screen
via di mezzo
in
tra
a gory mess, which I never really gets old.
It's a
fa
really
dei
flexible way
movimenti
to
da
take a
Monaco.
build that you're already comfortable with, that you already like. Say you're really comfortable with flurry and shadow step as kind of your melee skills, and you find yourself needing more crowd control. Without
È un
changing your
arciere.
playstyle, you can just add
Oh,
the frost
Perco,
imbue to your
alla
bar,
prossima.
and now
Grazie,
you're
caro.
able to use those same abilities to slow down
Buonasera,
enemies or build up to a full freeze.
Yeah, and Frost Imbue plays pretty well with group play as well, right? Where I can freeze an enemy and somebody else can blow it up.
Or also the way that chills work in the game, they build up to a full freeze. So if your best buddy is a sorceress player, your chill spells and your frost imbues
Sì, ma la fanno uscire
chills will
quest'anno?
actually
No,
build
la fanno
up
uscire quest'anno.
faster than if you were using a single player. So just
Non
ask
c'è la
Roman
data
with
di uscita
Blizzard
di
before
Diablo
you
4.
frost imbue, and you'll basically be freezing enemies twice as fast, which is super awesome synergy. So the last thing that's worth spending some time talking about the rogue is like how mobile the class is, just how able the class is to kind of close the gap between themselves and the enemy. Even while they're mounted, you might find yourself, a full screen away and just dismounting into a rain of arrows, closing the rest of that gap with maybe like a dash, and then getting back out of there, dropping some caltrops. They can basically control the fluid motion of combat in a way that no other class can. That's something that beyond all of the other customization options that you have,
Tu sei
whether
gorda,
it's
vero?
the playstyle,
Gatto,
whether it's the
sei
range
gorda.
at which you engage with enemies, whether it's the cosmetics, just the sheer mobility of the class lets you just adapt to the situations. Even when you would have totally been toast as another class, a room full of elites, you're able to use offensive abilities in creative ways. Abilities like shadow step, right? Like
A me è
abilities
figo,
like
è
Shadow
figo,
Realm,
figurati
abilities
se ti
like
fai un
dash.
personaggio da
You're able to
provare.
kind of like use them to your advantage in a way that gets you out of a very dangerous
Ho
situation.
fatto con
By
Necromante,
picking that
espansione
one
prima.
lone skeleton archer
that maybe it's not surrounded by everything else. You can shadow step there, get out of the way, and, you know, live to fight another day, which just feels like such a rogue thing to do.
When I play the rogue, I really do feel like surgical precision. You know, I really feel like I can. I
Però
can
capito,
move through
questi
the
te lo
whole
fanno
screen,
uscire a 40 euro.
It feels kind of
E vola
effortless,
tuo pelo.
and almost sometimes a little unfair. It's like when I go into Shadow Realm and I'm dashing, I'm like, am I cheating? Did I just break the game?
And we'll hear more about PvP in a little bit, but I just couldn't go without mentioning that some of our most feared PvP players on the team play rogue, and just the way they're able to like surprise you. You might be with a group of friends, and just that mobility lets them go to the middle of the group, unleash a rain of arrows that's frost imbued, and before you know it, you're all frozen. And looking at a rogue while you're frozen, let me tell you, there are fewer scarier things in our game right now than that.
So Luis, this was, this was like the ultimate blog post. This has been a lot of fun getting to share a new addition to the campfire. And of course, there's probably going to be more in the future, right? We always say there's a little bit more room around that campfire.
That's right, and that pretty much wraps it up for the rogue. So why don't we go to Joe and Karina and learn a little bit more about those open world features that we promised.
Well, thank you to Luis and John
per questo che non
for
avrai dubbio, non
introducing
posso
the
più
rogue,
raidare.
which I'm
Guarda
really
che ora che
excited
ci
we finally
arriva il
got a
raid.
chance to talk about and announce to the community. And we're here today to talk to you about Diablo 4 and the open world. Now, I think maybe the best way to start this conversation, Karina, would be just for me to ask you, like, what are you most excited about? What we're adding in Diablo 4 for the open world? What feature, what mechanic, what are you most excited to talk about first?
I am really excited about just
Sarà sopra i
exploring the
2000.
world. I am a huge
Ma tutto compreso dei
completist
monitor.
naturally, that's the way I play, and I love exploring and looking around at every single nook and cranny. The more this game has been growing, particularly since last
Solo la scheda video costa
the
1.300.
more fun I am having just riding around the open world on my mount and exploring everything I possibly can.
Yeah, it's really fun, I think, now that we've kind of taken Sanctuary and just made it so much larger when you're playing through the game. You know, when you compare it to like Diablo 3 or Diablo 2, there's tons of like exploration and movement throughout the world in those games, obviously. But now that we've really been able to embrace the open world concept, we can really dive much deeper into like how does Sanctuary actually all fit together. Like being able to ride from Skazglen to the Fractured Peaks, like it's very, very interesting that way. One of the things about that I think is really neat is the collection aspect of mounts. So, I mean, there's all these horse breeds and other mounts you can find throughout the world.
Collezione di mount,
Puzzles, or
ovviamente.
just finding hidden locations, or slaying certain particular kinds of monsters. Find various horses or things to customize your horse with, like horse armor.
Diablo 4. Hanno messo il
to
rogue.
show off your accomplishments. There's lots of different ways to
Lo
make sure
puoi
you
pure
can personalize your mount
personalizzare.
and really feel like it's your companion.
Yeah,
E
it's
farlo
really
tipo
cool that,
arciere
like
o
you mentioned,
tipo
the horse shoes,
assassino.
you get to actually change the speed at which your horse
Sventratore di
can run,
lame.
and it's something I like to be able to customize the horse to the type of gameplay that I like to enjoy as a player. And it's really, really fun. I like the amount of variety that you give us.
È un clic e
There's more
spostati.
to mounts
Clic
than
e
just that as
spostati.
well. So like one thing we know we didn't want to do with mounts in Diablo 4 is we didn't want to have like jousting, this idea of like fighting from horseback. It's not really the Diablo experience, right?
Yeah, that's something I'm super excited for. Like we showed
Alla
last
fine diventa
BlizzCon, we
come un
had
MOBA,
the sorceress. We showed her dismount skill Ice Dash, where she shoots forwards off her mount and destroys everything in her
scappa da una
path.
parte,
But with the
scappa
rogue, we got
dall'altra.
to have a little bit more fun with it. And the animation department has done a fantastic job of having her leap up into the air.
Sì, allora se ti piace il genere lo
rain
giochi
arrows
perché
and destroys everything. It's
è fatto
really,
bene.
really cool. It feels really good.
Tutta la serie di Diablo è fatta bene. È stato, il primo è stato innovativo. C'era niente di simile. E poi, cazzo, ci hanno costruito anche con le cinematics che sono impressionanti. Ma ci hanno costruito un mondo anche su Diablo.
It's interesting that your mount can't get damaged, but if a monster actually attacks you while you're mounted, you will actually be forced to dismount. So there is a flip side of actually judging for yourself when you do want to use that skill in order to prevent you from being forced
c'è
down
una storia.
unintentionally.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of gameplay there to make sure that you're using it in a way that is most appropriate to help you get where you're trying to go.
Ed è molto bella.
One of the things I'm most excited about for the open world right now is this feature we have called camps. So camps are basically these strongholds of evil out in the overworld. You know, you got to remember that, you know, decades ago, during the events of Reaper of Souls, you know, when Malthael rose to power, the Reapers
Guarda sti
killed like 9
cinematics.
out of 10 people throughout Sanctuary. Like a tremendous number of people passed away. Now there's a big power vacuum out here, decades later. And these monsters have started to move into these places. Bandits, monsters, goatmen, all kinds of different creatures, skeletons, the undead, have started to like resurface and come back into these areas and start to take them for themselves. You, as the hero of Sanctuary, get to kind of wander through these spaces and begin to reclaim them for the people of Sanctuary.
Io di questo qua giocavo le ranked.
Each of them have their own story, their own
Dovevi fare in
place
pratica
in the world.
Unlike Quest is something that
entravi in una
happens randomly in the
graduatoria se
world and you
finivi
come
i
across it
varchi
anyway.
nel minor
Camps are
tempo
a permanent
possibile.
fixture that you as the player,
E c'era
if
la
you come
gara
across
a fare i
that
varchi
evil,
sempre più
you can
alti
actually have a real impact on the open
nel minor
world that
tempo
everyone else can
possibile.
see, because once you have
Ed è
defeated
un
that
farming
evil,
continuo
one of the really
del
fun things
pezzo
is that
migliore.
you basically
Diablo è uno
unlock
dei
that
giochi
camp
più
and you
famosi in
make a new
eccellenza.
waypoint that previously didn't exist for yourself, but like suddenly all the marketplaces open up and now you have a blacksmith vendor in a location that previously didn't exist, which I think is really, really cool.
Now, what we're looking at here, this was a village, the village of Karayisu, which now has fallen to ruins. The people here in the dry steppes had a problem. The problem was there were bloodthirsty cannibals that dwelled nearby and would regularly raid their community. And the people had to come up with a solution. They weren't strong
Io
enough
mi
to defend
ricordo quando è
themselves from these
uscito
cannibals. So they made a dark
Diablo
bargain
2
with the
era?
demon.
No, Diablo 3.
And they were able to
Diablo
gather
2.
enough power to push these cannibals out
Oh
and protect
madonna,
their
qual era il 2 o il 3 che era una roba ingiocabile? Era impossibile, l'avevano fatto talmente difficile. Era impossibile finirlo. La modalità era uno che è riuscito a fare, ovviamente, perché nel mondo c'è sempre quello che lo riesce a fare. Uno l'ha finito in modalità hardcore, quindi significava che se tu fossi morto, il tuo personaggio sarebbe stato cancellato. E lui l'ha finito tipo qualche ora prima che ci fosse il reset per mettere le modifiche e quindi nerfare il gioco.
To kind of play with movement. It pushes the bar vertically as well as horizontally, and we now have been playing around with the idea of jumping across chasms to allow the player to get access to a location that they previously didn't have. There's all kinds of areas where players like find their own path, allowing them extra movement options they haven't had in previous Diablo games. We are also in a vertical top-down camera for the environment, and so it really breaks up the plane that you typically
La mia
see
tastiera è una
not only
Ducky,
as a
è
developer, as an
coreana.
animator, but also as a player. There's such a huge variety of things that you
È
can
una
possibly
tastiera
do
meccanica
to
coreana.
mix it up and make things a little bit different. There's like certain puzzle
Telecamere di te
elements
per
to
qualche motivo
that it's not so
recondito.
straightforward and not always obvious. So it's not just a matter of
E il mouse è un
running through the world and
Razer
getting,
Naga.
to your goal. It's you have to think about it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Karina, I know that you're very excited about PvP.
I'm a huge fan of PvP.
No,
I
devi
love
scendere.
the first time that we all
Devi
actually had a
devi
chance to,
scendere.
as a whole team, play
Poi
PvP.
prendere,
Because
alzarti
the
e
amount of
scendere.
feedback that generated, I think it took design like 3 days to go through it all. And what that showed me is that I find everyone they either love it or they hate it. And I personally love it. I really enjoy it. So the way that PvP works is that the hatred of Mephisto has been bubbling up from hell and has created these areas in the open world that you can freely walk into that
Ma perché non
kind of
fanno vedere la
consumes
pozza della
you and
vita e
makes
del
you
mana?
turn against your fellow players.
Cos'è che usa questa
PvP,
energy?
even in these areas, these fields of hatred, right? Even in these spaces, it's not like mandatory. So these are optional places players can choose to go to kind of collect shards of hatred that they can collect from like killing monsters, from completing events, opening chests, all kinds of ways to earn these things, not necessarily just killing
Questo è
players.
l'inizio.
And as you earn these
All'inizio
shards
sei
of
una
hatred,
pippa
they
e
come
non
in
riesci a fare
an
un cazzo
unpurified state.
e ti
They're in a
shottano.
basic state.
E
You
ti
need to bring
shottano,
them
ti
to
shottano,
a
ti shottano.
purification event
Finché
in
non
order
pigli
to
qualche
turn
pezzo
them into a
decente, allora cominci a
currency you can
farlo.
then use in the nearby like small encampments around the field.
Tu stai nel
What's
bilanciartelo
really neat
bene.
about that is that when you're trying to
A volte
purify
ci
these
sono
things, that's when everybody nearby finds
elite
out
che becchi in giro per la mappa, tipo
someone's
questi.
actually trying to complete the purification ritual. You
Sono
need to go
mob più
and
difficili,
kill those players
diciamo
and take all of their shards before they finish. But once you
mini
purify
boss.
them, they're yours. You can't lose them. But before they're
che non riesci a
purified,
fare.
they're free game.
Sono talmente
Yeah, I think
difficili
it's really important to note that, like,
a varchi
even if you
molto
don't want to
alti.
engage with other PvP
Non riesci a
players, you
fare
can
gli
actually
skip.
explore those areas and collect the shards of hatreds from specifically monsters. But the second you need to then turn them in and purify them into a currency where you can spend them on gear, trophies, and other
Questo
content,
ghiaccia
you actually are
ti fa
hostile yourself and actually can be attacked
la
during
trappola,
that single moment.
ti
But
tiene
I think that
bloccato
really creates a lot of opportunity for you to team up with friends for just that one little moment in order to gain the reward that you spent so much time collecting.
So you called out earlier that the shards of hatred are used for like some of the vendors you can find in the fields of hatred. There are some special vendors that only kind of arrive in these areas. They'll have special costumes or new mounts and weapons and things along those lines. Nothing that's like strictly more powerful than stuff you can get in other parts of the game, but stuff that really like speaks to your desire as a PvP player. And I think one of the things that's really kind of neat about the system in general is that as a player, if you choose to go hostile, betray the players you're near you, try to get as many shards of hatred as you can, you're going to slowly begin to kind of like infuse yourself with that same curse of Mephisto. And you're going to become a vessel of hatred. Now, once you do that, everyone within a very large radius of you is going to be able to see you as a threat on the map. And they're going to get a bonus for killing you. So when that occurs, you have a set amount of time you need to survive. And if you're able to do that without running away or jumping in a town portal and trying to escape, if you're able to do that and finish that period and manage to escape or defeat your people who are coming to try to destroy you, you're going to get a really big bonus at the end. And that's been really, really exciting to watch in our playtests already as people are like kind of wrestling for this status and then trying to defend it once they actually achieve it.
Yeah, and there's also the ears that you get to collect as a trophy. It harkens back to D2, where I think you could sell the ears for 1 gold. I don't know if we're going to be doing that. I know we were playing around with them as a currency at one point, but I think right now it's just a cool trophy that you get to collect and show off.
Yeah, right now, very, very cool trophy. The thing was really neat about the Diablo 2 ears, like you could fill up your whole inventory with them, obviously, but being able to see like the people that you took the ears from, like seeing their character names on there, was always like the interesting, fun part. Kind of like proof, like yeah, I got that person that time, right? So we want to make sure that we embrace that aspect of it. That's the important part for us. I think that's going to be a really, really great callback to Diablo 2 PvP.
Right, yeah. So I love where PvP is going, and I love that it is such it's only one part of how large and open the world is, and really harkens back to the adventure in me when I play the game. How do you feel?
I'm super excited as well. I mean, there's so much to look forward to in Diablo 4 right now. Like what we talked about today just scratches the surface. In general, as a Diablo fan, there's a lot to be looking forward to in the franchise in the future. Thank you so much for watching today. We look forward to speaking to you more about this game and others in the future.
Dolby is a proud partner of BlizzCon Live.
Di merchandise.
Dolby is a proud partner of BlizzCon Line. Watch Shop versus the world in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, only in the Dolby Access app.
Dai, fammi vedere.
Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of BlizzCon Line.
Coca-Cola. Un po' di mount.
Another one. Christian, it's been ages.
Could be. And we basically had these whiteboards that we were carting around everywhere.
The room was filled with whiteboards, and we would just write every day.
story beats with
Questo è Overwatch 2.
who was doing what and where, and oh my gosh, we forgot this character.
We had these giant sticky notes, and each
Behind
one
the
of them would be a mission with a bunch of notes on it. You know, somebody say, well, what if we moved Rio to the end, and they'd physically grab it off the wall and stick it on the end.
And we did this for a while, you know, until we all felt that it was pretty close to what we wanted.
Then we could send it to our writers' rooms. The writers' rooms then had a much clearer direction of where we wanted this process to go.
Ultimately, we come up with something that we think is right for the game, and then we pitch it back to the game team, and they point out everything that we missed.
And that allows us to actually back up and go and make it right and make it better.
Because the scale of this story is so huge, it takes place over the whole world, basically. It just requires a constant iteration.
Però ci sono dei siti dove tu puoi sceglierti i pezzi e poi loro te lo assemblano,
Storyboards get crafted with the
poi
edit.
te lo
From there,
spediscono.
it'll go to a
Già
previs
assemblato.
department where they'll start to flesh it out in 3D. Once we've kind of figured out our camera work and our cinematography, that'll then go to the animation department.
Cosa c'è?
And
Cosa?
then we end up going right into the
Quando
game
fai
engine.
pirla, allora vai a
One of our
cagare.
challenges was
E mi
to
mordi
figure
come un
out
cretino.
how to integrate this story and this narrative with the gameplay.
So if the intro cinematic ends with this huge battle,
Dipende
this
da
huge war,
quanto,
when
da
you get
quanto hai
into
da
the game,
spendere
it
per
has
i
to
PC.
mesh and feel the exact same way and blend together.
We really are
Questo è il
also
2.
trying to get the music to be equally as consistent from in-game cinematics straight through to the mission. Adam Burgess, our lead composer, has been working with the IGC
Ecco.
team, with the game team,
Adesso mi viene a
developing
mordere i
themes
piedi.
for all of the heroes, all of the
Ma può essere
locations.
così
As the
stronzo?
cinematic director,
Ma tu non
whatever
dovresti essere
we're
la razza quella
crafting
buona.
should never
Che
override
cazzo
the
di
gameplay. We
gatto?
want to make sure that the player's experience
Ma
going
non
from
può
the
andare,
cinematic
guarda,
to the
magari.
gameplay is seamless and it feels like a completely immersive experience.
The engineers, we have to find a way to actually make that come to fruition. The choreo tool is a tool that allows people to coordinate different events to happen at the same time. Like in Rio, if you played our demo, one of the buildings explodes. And so that kind of event needs to happen as you're running by, and you need to have it timed, because if it blows up too early, then you don't see it. It allows story moments in missions that interact with the environment, that interact with our characters.
The new tech, the new abilities that we have now are allowing us to push our storytelling farther than we could have previously.
What's also really powerful about choreo is that, you know, if somebody has an idea, they can mock things up really quickly.
We got to show the Widowmaker making this awesome introduction. And Casey was able to quickly put a really rough prototype in choreo. And Philip would come in and on the fly, he's making quick changes. They play tested something that would normally take weeks. It was done in like a matter of days.
Each story mission has its own custom map built for it, and these maps are absolutely gigantic.
India is one of our biggest maps, and it's a fun map because it has a few story beats that we've taken from recent comics and characters in the game.
We've written a history for each city so that the cities feel lived in. And I think that informs the artists
E l'hanno
so that
sviluppata
they
in
know
alto.
like what it is that the city has been through.
Gothenburg was our chance to show Torbjorn's workshop. We created a space that kind of fits his height. So there's, step ladders and scalable tables. We designed the space as if we were Torbjorn. Molten steel is pouring out of walls. It's pretty epic when you walk into it. Toronto was under siege by Null Sector when the players arrived here. There's a dynamic snowstorm. So as you make your way through the level, the snow is slowly building up. Suddenly by the end, the characters are caught in this gigantic snowstorm and they must fight their way through.
In Overwatch 2, we want to give you choice to be able to play this character or that character. So we're designing a lot of systems around how their relationships develop over the course of the story missions in the campaign.
We have a cast of many characters, all on screen, all at the same time, and it's fantastic to actually see them all interacting and working together in ways that we've never actually seen. We've always thought about it and hoped for it, but now it's actually happening.
It actually requires us to have a whole new branching dialogue system. If you happen to have Genji and Mercy in the second mission of the game, you might get different dialogue that's about their relationship.
Our voice actors bring the characters to life in ways that
Che ci sono i
everybody has
doppiatori.
fallen in love with, from inside Blizzard to the fans.
Doppiatori, le voci.
This collection of actors all together, all interacting, has been a real treat.
I wish people could see how many people are involved when it comes to something like telling the story of Overwatch. It doesn't just come from a singular person. It comes from a group, and it's a really talented, fun group that all works together.
We've been developing what we hope is one of the best stories ever. There's some key story moments that I'm really excited about, and I really can't wait to see how people react to it.
We've been talking about the game, about this universe. I know you all love it so much.
Right now, we can sit down and have a night of Overwatch 2 and have it be a really fun experience. And I think we need some more time till we can say it's perfectly polished in the way that we want it.
We've made such incredible strides since we first announced this and showed it to the community at BlizzCon in 2019.
The thing that I'm most excited about is that moment when we hand the game over to the players.
We want to create something that really moves people, really touches people.
That's why we do it. We create the game because we want it to become part of your life and for you to experience it.
For Overwatch 2, we're upping the bar.
It's kind of 5 games in one. It's a huge undertaking.
The new tech and the new aesthetics for the new looks bring you closer to the characters that you love, and we're just getting started. The fidelity of the gameplay experience is much richer.
We are making cinematics that push the boundary of what we can do to tell stories.
We want this dynamic world. We want things to feel alive.
I'm really looking forward to being able to expand the world of Overwatch for our players.
We're really trying to tell this epic story.
In order to make a game great, it takes time,
vabbè, si gioca anche
energy,
questo.
collaboration.
Certo.
We have just an incredibly professional team of designers and artists and engineers.
We just love bringing this world to you guys. So many cool characters. It's just a blast working on it.
Our goal is for Overwatch 2 to be the worthy successor to the first game, to be the next evolution, and to be a true sequel.
We have big plans, so thank you for sticking with us.
We're gonna cross the finish line, and I know it's gonna be awesome.
I hope people just end up loving playing it over and over.
That's what we want to try and capture. I'm jumping in, I'm playing, let's go be heroes.
E il grande assente invece è StarCraft. Faranno più niente, è chiuso. Ci sarà un cazzo di StarCraft.
Different game. Now we're seeing a baneling's nest come down here. Banelings are already
Non faranno più niente per
StarCraft.
StarCraft.
Perfectly. But I'll tell you what, man, when you're on against 2 players, every baneling has to connect to its target.
Yeah, but look,
Nessun
there's a rush
aggiornamento.
going down right now. MVP and Nesty sending Lings, sending Marines, trying to get a bunker up right now. Some additional Lings from effort coming down and actually getting a nice surround there, trying to reduce the Marine count, which I think is absolutely critical because of that bunker.
Beautifully done there. The baneling's nest over here for Nesty about to finish up. But for now, there's this bunker in kind of an odd spot on the low ground. This Marine not on the inside, and it needs to get inside pretty quickly. Barely does manage to do so. But on the high ground, this bunker is about to finish, and this is certainly going to be something easy to reinforce. It's hard to imagine. Well, I say that, but then with this banelings finishing, I'm really getting to see the idea of this strategy. The banelings could come up here and just tear open this entrance. That's going to be hard to deal with.
Yeah, they definitely will tear it open too. The bunker goes down, the reactor goes down, has the depot killed as well. Very few units left over here for last, and the speedlings of Nesty getting into his mineral line.
And now taking this much damage early on, going to be very difficult to ever imagine somebody recovering from this. I mean, yeah, sure, try to go somewhere else, but really, this is so much damage so quickly. It does seem like the other team can now 2 versus 1 and overpower in somewhat of a similar fashion that we saw in our previous game.
A lot of damage dealt, but now effort roaming the map with a big group of roaches. And honestly, looking at that unit tab, these roaches beat everything that's on the map right now.
Yeah, these roaches are really the muscle on the map that can't quite be dealt with. I mean, this is one of the things about when two players gang up on one player early on. If that other player doesn't do everything to try to save him, they will at least have a much more powerful tech, a stronger army. And sometimes we see games swing after that.
Yeah, we're going to see if that swings now because he is walking across the map with a lot of roaches. Some spines going up for Nestea at 12 o'clock. Let's see if he can end up holding on. Yeah, I think he'll be able to, right? That's a lot of lings. He has a couple queens. The spines are going to finish. I don't think Effort can get him.
This is a great block up here. Anything to buy a little bit of time. Now, keep in mind, our Terran in the blue is not out of the game just yet. If he can get a few more mules down, make a few more SCVs, he might be able to squeeze through. But over here at Nestea's base, these roaches coming through here, taking the queen out. Or I should say, almost taking the queen out. Going for these spines here.
And it looks like Effort will be pushed back. The Marines coming up, trying to pick off the few roaches that are running away. Good micro there from Effort, getting the maximum value out of those roaches before they fall.
Yeah, this is some incredible play here. And right now,
Va bene.
a lot of players are limping through.
Going back to those mercenaries that you could hire, it was always kind of cool to see what kind of special
Maw-themed rewards while we're at it. Our return to the Maw includes not only a chance for us to push back against the dark designs of the jailer, we really weren't able to spend very much time there. Having a
soul from your grasp.
No. He is bound to me, just as you once sought to bind your own brother.
Ancora viva. Io l'ho vista morire. Man mano si è mossa.
Performed its part flawlessly. 3 keys remain. Then they will see. Death was never meant to be changed.
There's a lot to unpack there. But as you can imagine, we're not going to take a strike like that sitting down. We're going to call in the forces of all 4 of the Shadowlands Covenants. For the first time in years, they will all come together, now reinvigorated by anima and by our actions within the Shadowlands, to take the fight directly to the jailer. Within the Maw, we will uncover brand new, never-before-seen areas. We'll also be fighting off some new and never-before-seen enemies, of course, and naturally be uncovering some brand new Maw-themed rewards while we're at it. Our return to the Maw includes not only a chance for us to push back against the dark designs of the jailer in areas that previously were very forbidding for us, where we really weren't able to spend very much time there. Having a secure, solid foothold with all 4 covenants allows us to push back against that oppressive force. We'll be able to stop the Eye of the Jailer in its tracks, exploring areas that we were unable to explore before, and our mounts will once again even hear our call within the Maw. The Maw will not only include some areas that we have seen previously, now with our new allies of the Covenants changing things up there, but also some never-before-seen sections. Let's talk for a second about the largest of those sections. So in the finale of that cinematic, you saw that the jailer had sent his chains off out of the Maw and into the darkness. What he found there, that landmass shown there at the very end of that cinematic, is a landmass known as Korthia, and it makes up the largest new section of the Maw. Korthia is an ancient space that was lost in the in-between. It has its own strange creatures and wildlife that inhabit it, but it's also inhabited by some of the characters we've previously seen in Oribos, including the Attendants and the Protectors, and some of their city structures. And very similar to Oribos, it is filled with mysteries, the likes of which the Shadowlands has yet to uncover. It is these ancient mysteries that the Jailer is truly after, the secrets of this strange group that we've only barely hinted at, known as the First Ones. Heading back into this area will allow us to explore all of these new sections, entertain new content, meet new allies, and face off against new foes. And in addition, we will also see some brand new rewards. Some of the new rewards we'll find within the Maw include this Maw-themed undead horse, and a Maw hand mount that is actually a giant severed hand of domination that you'll ride on the wrist section of in a really creepy and cool manner. And of course, there will be Maw-themed battle pets to collect as well, including your very own minion of domination. But our true purpose within the Maw is not just to collect battle pets. That's just a part of it. The true purpose of bringing all 4 of the Covenants together within the Maw, of course, is to be taking the attack directly to the Jailer's doorstep, the central area where the Jailer has holed up with all of his main minions is going to be our focus here, as we raid the Sanctum of Domination. The Sanctum of Domination will be a 10-boss raid, and you'll finally be able to face off against the terrible Terror Group that I'm sure has kicked you out of Torghast more times than you want to mention at this point. You'll be able to take all of your allies and take the fight directly back to it. We'll also be facing off against the creature that is the actual eye of the Jailer and figure out really what is the Jailer's eye here. Those of you that were fans of the lore of the Titan Keeper Odin might have some interest in that particular fight. The Jailer's Inner Sanctum, naturally, is a place where some of the worst souls were sent for the Jailer's personal torment. And we'll be seeing some of those souls here as well. Really looking forward to hearing who you think will show up in the Jailer's personal torment sanctum. Of course, any raid that features minions, servants, and soldiers of the cold dark like this one is going to have to feature our old nemesis, Kel'Thuzad. And finally, the culmination of the raid. At long last, we will be taking the fight directly to Sylvanas Windrunner, the Banshee Queen herself. The finale of this fight is going to change the future of the Shadowlands, but we're not going to spoil that for you today. However, can't wait for you to see what happens at the end. But the Sanctum of Domination is not the only sanctum of the Jailer. We'll be seeing additional updates to Torghast, the Tower of the Damned, including the unlocking of brand new, never-before-seen wings. These wings have a brand new art kit, as well as new floors and new floor layouts, and should feel like something you haven't seen in Torghast up until now. You'll be facing off against brand new foes with dastardly ways in order to stop your ascent, new traps to trip you up, and of course, to help us fight against all of these dastardly minions of the Jailer, brand new game-changing powers will be available as well. Moving on to additional updates within Chains of Domination, fans of the Operation Mechagon Mega Dungeon from our previous patches will be happy to learn that we are once again bringing back the concept of the Mega Dungeon. A Mega Dungeon is an 8-boss dungeon, epic in scale, and always has some unique and interesting loot that you can't find anywhere else. The Mega Dungeon for Chains of Domination is going to be focused around the enigmatic traders that we first met in Oribos, the Brokers. The Broker Mega Dungeon is a large broker trading city with portals, an auction house, and various different broker cartels that have made it their home. We're going to be learning more about broker culture and meeting some new and different kinds of brokers that we haven't seen up until now. This is an 8-boss dungeon, and in Chains of Domination will be available as Mythic only for now. Within the Broker Mega Dungeon, we will be facing off against brand new broker cartel members, including dastardly broker assassins and four-armed broker guards. The second half of the dungeon, as we start to exit the broker trading city, will feature a heist section, as we chase a broker that has stolen an artifact and plans to use it for his own purposes. As we chase this broker through the heist section, he'll take us through a number of different portals that take us to a lot of different, very varied locations where we fight a number of different bosses. One of these fights, of course, is against none other than an infinite pirate dragon. I trust that needs no explanation, so let's move on to the rewards. The rewards of this mega dungeon include things that we will only see within broker culture, some very special broker pets, including a broker-themed cat. We can capture some of the rats that scurry around within the broker trading city, and we'll get to see one of the pets that the brokers actually use as a currency, these strange worms that they found on another world and have scintillating eyes that are gem-like. It's sort of like a living sign of your wealth for the high ends of the broker cartels. You might be able to purchase one of those within the dungeon or fight an enemy in order to obtain one of them. And we'll be able to obtain the broker's special and interesting disc mount, which they fly around their trading city with. In addition, there's going to be a dazzling array of different weaponry for you to collect as well. Now let's move on to updates to some of our covenant systems. We've been fighting hard to gain renown with our covenants, gain soulbinds, and additional conduits. We'll be expanding upon a lot of these systems. Some of the ideas that we're thinking about include adding additional conduits, different conduit types, and expanding the soulbind system. Our general goal here is to give you more options in terms of how you specialize your character within your covenant and how you gain additional power levels. We're very early on in the ideation phase here, and we'd love to hear from you if you want to take to the forums and tell us how you would like to see your power grow within your covenant. Patch 9.1 also brings with it flying, something that we mentioned a while back, and we're sticking to it. There's no rep grind associated with flying. You simply just need to continue completing activities for your covenant, and your covenant story chapters will unlock flying for you automatically. But we're not simply going to be unlocking flying in Chains of Domination. No, we want to do everything heavily covenant themed because it's all about working for your covenants. So completing the flying will also unlock a new specialized flying mount specific to your covenant. For the Kyrians, activating Anima to the Eternal Forge has allowed your stewards to once again produce this powerful flying centurion that hasn't been seen in ages. For the Night Fae, activating Wild Seeds with Anima that were thought lost to the drought will reawaken our powerful ally in the Wolf Serpent. From the Maldraxians, the Necrolords naturally go to their natural environment, throw a saddle on one of the giant corpse flies buzzing around their backyard, and send that on into combat.
Bellissimo.
There's one thing that you do know, they're not going to be afraid of the stench of death. And for the Venthyr, activating Anima within Revendreth has allowed us to empower these Stoneborn brutes, giving us Anima-infused Stoneborn allies as our brand new flying mounts. But that's not all. Continuing to advance your covenant and your renown will also unlock a set of cosmetic armor. Cosmetic armor sets can be worn by any armor type, from cloth to plate, and they can be mixed and matched with any of your transmog outfits if you want to take just pieces of them, producing a variety of different unique outfit possibilities. The cosmetic armor set for the Kyrian is stylized after a Kyrian courier who might be rushing across the fields of Bastion with a missive. It's very lightweight, it's very airy.
Solo
For the Night
su
Fae,
Discord se
your
vuoi.
cosmetic outfit will be themed around the Forest Defenders and includes many
Oh, ti
natural
piacciono le mie
wildlife
cuffie
elements,
nuove?
including the horns of the Great Stag
Si sente
and
bene?
the leaves of the various flora
Senti se mi...
around Ardenweald. As you can see, the colors
mi
here
succhio i denti,
actually
si
themed after
sente?
the
Ho mangiato un
seasons as well.
biscotto, lui.
For the
Lo so,
Necrolords,
balcone.
we went all the way back to the Warcraft 3 initial idea of the Necromancer in this classically inspired
Uso il microfono delle
Necromancer
cuffie,
set,
com'è?
updated with Necrolord colors.
Fa cagare, buono, come lo
Everybody who's a
senti meglio o
Necrolord
peggio
will
dell'altro?
finally get to also have a
Dammi
little
il
bit
tuo
of
parere.
Necromancer in them as well. And finally, for the Venthyr, no Venthyr transmog set would truly be complete without a set
Meglio o
of
peggio?
finery just waiting for the next Venthyr fancy party to break out. Venthyr players will be able to obtain these fancy outfits for whenever
Perfetto, la voce non è bella calda come l'altro,
Chains
vero?
of Domination will also herald the beginning of Shadowlands Season 2, where we will be seeing the addition of a brand new domination-themed affix for Mythic Plus, an item level increase across the board in terms of available item levels that you can pick up by doing just about anything in the Shadowlands. We'll also be seeing the beginning of PvP Season 2, and something special in this PvP season that we're looking for is an honor talent refresh. The idea here is to take a look at some of our unused or underutilized honor talents and freshen them up a bit, change things around in terms of the PvP metagame. We'll also be seeing the introduction of seasonal
non ha
rewards.
senso, ha senso perché, capito, vai in scimmia con World of Warcraft e se l'ha rifata a capo.
Achievement mounts, as
Dietro
well as
di
our new
15 anni.
vicious mounts. In this case, the vicious mount is
E ricominci di capo.
The Gorm was already pretty vicious.
Tra 15
Slapping
anni
a couple
uguale.
of pieces of armor on that and sending them out into combat was a natural thing for the forces of the Alliance and Horde to do. All right, let's take a second to recap everything coming at you
L'hai
in
visto
Chains of
com'è?
Domination. First, we've got some major story quests, including a lot of the main characters
Invece ho
of the Shadowlands that are
visto
centered
Overwatch
most
2,
specifically around the designs and
che lo
plans
fanno in
of
single
the
player
Jailer and his
o in
attacks
coop,
on our
ma
allies in our
con
covenants.
una
We will be
con un modo di
taking
giocare
revenge
diverso.
by taking the fight directly to the Jailer in the Maw
Potrebbe essere
and forming
interessante.
a permanent presence there with all 4 covenants. We'll be
E il Diablo si
exploring some
prende,
never-before-seen sections of the Maw, including this new area known as Korthia and its various mysteries. We will be taking the fight directly to the Jailer himself in the Sanctum of Domination raid, which has the final boss as Sylvanas Windrunner. And we'll be making
io faccio il
updates to
rogue.
Torghast, including some never-before-seen wings, floors, creatures, and powers. We'll be introducing a new mega dungeon themed around the brokers as a floating broker trading city with new bosses to fight there and some very unique loot to obtain. We're going to be expanding upon the conduits and soulbind systems and adding additional choice and power to your presence within your covenant. And alongside that, we'll be seeing some brand new covenant rewards, including covenant-themed flying mounts and covenant-themed cosmetic armor sets, both of which will be available in a variety of different colors to collect. And finally, we'll be seeing the
E
launch
loro
of Shadowlands
sono sul
Season
canale
2
della
and everything
Blizzard.
that entails. Thanks
Tu fai
everybody
così
for checking out our Shadowlands
e
update.
scegli quale
We've got a
canale
lot of
vedere.
really cool stories to tell still here in the Shadowlands, and we can't wait to get this content into
Ma
your
li ho
hands.
coperti un po' tutti.
From everybody on the World of Warcraft team, we hope
Perso
you
non me ne
enjoy
frega
Chains of
proprio niente.
Domination, and we'll see you in the Shadowlands.
E i video. E i video di World of Warcraft è figo, Sylvanas è sempre Sylvanas e Anduin. Sti cazzi. Ma l'hai visto, Vito? Cosa fa?
Dolby is the proud partner of BlizzCon Line. Watch Shock vs. the World in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, only in the Dolby Access app.
Una community di Arca su PC dove parlare. Quella di Steam l'hai provata? Ce l'ha una community lì,
We decided to do the community mount because Shadowlands was right around the corner, and the main theme of Shadowlands was player agency and player
E questo
choice.
ecco?
So this seemed like a great opportunity to engage the community and let them choose the next mount for the World of Warcraft. Basically what we did was we came up with 5 ideas, and we've actually invited all players to vote
Però su Steam non ti
on the
caga
one
nessuno.
that they like the best. It was
Bella
interesting
community.
because we
E
actually
vai
had a lot of internal debates about whether
su
we would provide
Reddit.
concept art for these
Su
pieces
Reddit
or not.
cerchi
I think
Arc
we're all very
Italia,
glad that we
vedrai che
did it
qualcosa
because
trovi.
the artists in our community really engaged
Se non
and
ce l'hai,
came up with some awesome art to bring these ideas to life. As the lead art producer for World
è
of
un
Warcraft,
Reddit
I work with a team
oppure
of 3 other art producers, and together the
lo
4 of us
conosci
are
Reddit?
responsible for the tracking and coordination of all of the art assets that go into the game.
Scrivi Reddit Wikipedia, vai subito a
When the
leggere
Wandering
cos'è Reddit.
Ancient was chosen, I was given the task to bring it to life.
Vai,
First
vai,
step in the task
vai.
was to get together a
Compito
reference
immediato,
board
vai a leggere
that
cos'è
fan art
Reddit.
done by the community. I collected reference from past iterations of Ancients. That actually was like a huge base on where I began. Especially
Reddit,
if it's
raga,
an
scrivete
asset
Reddit
that
su...
is, a rehashing of something familiar. We've seen lots of different type of Ancients, but we've yet to see one that you could ride on.
C'è una community per qualsiasi cosa. Volete la community per il...
with the pantheon of past
Cos'è che vuole?
so we
Link
have
sto...
ancients like the Ancient of War, the Ancient of Lore. Their look aesthetically fits their purpose, and so looking back and researching that and seeing that is what helped me kind of inform where I went from there. Once I have that reference board put together and I take a look at it, I start drawing real small. I look for a shape that is kind of a good base to work off of, and then I'll start to work in more specific details as more of the larger shapes start to make sense. I wanted it to feel like a natural grove that a player may stumble upon, and then they just take a seat on this conveniently saddled looking root system, and then suddenly it uplifts
Instagram per le foto.
Found himself on an ancient.
È figo.
The whole point of the concept, it's just all it is a blueprint or a guide. From there, I open up 3D Max, I start modeling it. I ended up keeping a lot of the foliage that was in the original Ancient because a lot of that stuff was already there. And then there was a couple major parts of the creature that had to be created from scratch. So that would be like his main torso and his head and the tree. And for those, I used ZBrush to kind of sculpt out a mesh to use as a base to retopo a low poly model that would be acceptable for the game engine. Finally, you know, for the texture, I used 3D Coat. It's a great, powerful tool. Anybody who wants to do hand-painted textures should definitely look into using it.
Minchia, l'anima dei programmi.
When rigging starts to build the rig for the animators, we talk it over with the designer and we decide to figure out what the best kind of topology is for better deformation for the animators to get a more lifelike capture. Deformation is basically how your skin moves on the bones, so the geometry itself gets attached. As far as how your arm moves and how your skin moves when you articulate your wrist, your elbows, beard, ears, you want to kind of get a general sense of how the head is going to turn or how the elbows
C'è sempre uno scheletro che muove, è come nel disegno classico, prima fai lo scheletro.
For the animators, so they'll be able to move those bones without having to worry about what's underneath the hood. They can just go for the visual look where they have the controls and animate just like a puppet.
After character art and rigging had finished with the model, they passed off to animation to breathe some life into it. The Wandering Ancient was a bit of a unique starting point. We had animations available to us from 16 or 17 years ago that really helped capture the spirit and personality for the creature. We wanted to use those as foundations to build upon, and with the updated rig, we were able to go in and add new motion and life on top of this creature. We do this by a process called keyframe animation, which follows the rules set by traditional animation in the past. We're able to use 3D software to use the rig and model to bring personality and motion into the character. Animation is really drawn from inspiration from the real world. Watching creatures and animals, how they move, you pick up these little things you might not think of. So it's really important to study the movement of nature and other humans to really figure out how your animation might better sell the motion and the physics behind it.
Che bisogna vedere ogni animazione, ogni
In this situation, we like to film ourselves for reference. It helps us get in the mindset and feel the personality of the
così apprezzi il lavoro degli animatori e dei grafici.
So my first step as a sound designer is to look at the model, to look at the animations that the art team has already made, and get familiar with the personality of the creature, with the material types that they've used, you know, how fast is it, how does it move, and then I can start putting together sounds that will help reinforce that. So what is it made out of? Well, in this case, we have, obviously it's a tree, so he's got his creaking wood elements, he's got his shaking leaves, but he's a creature that's sentient, he has a personality, so what would he sound like? What kind of vocalizations would he make?
Just basic walking animation.
So working with Glenn on the Ancient was awesome. Glenn has defined so much of the sound of Warcraft over the years, and he's already contributed his voice to helping to define what these creatures have sounded like in previous iterations. So knowing that we were going to make a newer version of it for this mount was a cool opportunity to have him jump in and add his vocal layers, knowing that it's maybe a little smaller than the other Ancients that have been in WoW in the past, and it's maybe a little more inquisitive, a little friendlier.
To help with the vocal layers, I'm going to do a creaking layer as well for the idles and longer ones. So.
One major tool for sound design is using layers to kind of composite together a coherent sound. So in the case of this huge tree creature, he has layers of leaves rustling, layers of branches moving as he shifts around. He's got his footsteps that are built out of the tree trunk itself kind of shifting and creaking and groaning. And then layers of his vocalizations as he's kind of making little idle sounds. So all of that comes together to create this one coherent set of sounds, but it's actually built out of a huge number of individual parts. It feels like a big organic creature where every time he moves, every one of his footsteps, his overall movement, there's a lot of variety there.
One of the ideas that came up was the changing of the colors of the leaves with the seasons.
I thought it was really fun to have these little extra Easter eggs, I guess, hiding on the mount, and it really helps bring the character's story and personality to a more unique place.
The team also added a little caterpillar to the top of the tree as a nod to the caterpillar that did not win the contest.
Oh yeah, the grub. I didn't have any part of that. That's actually all John. He did it himself.
When I had initially pitched the concept to the team, Kelvin Tan, he suggested, hey, why don't we put something like, I don't know, maybe like a little caterpillar or something like that. So that actually ended up being, for me, one of the more kind of standout features for the mount, because it almost looks like the caterpillar himself is in control of the mount, kind of sitting back.
What I would like to see if the community take from this is to see how much, emotion and love was put into it. Most artists here are also gamers and also WoW players, so it's one of those things where there's another group of players that are with the community, that are part of the community, that are just as involved in this as the community is.
So hopefully the first time you summon this mount, it's an awesome experience, that the visual and the sound just feel really rewarding, and it's a super cool thing to hear. And the first time you do the mount special and see its cool animations and all the sounds, and you start riding around the world and hearing the different little idles and sounds that it makes, I hope that matches the level of enthusiasm that people had for seeing this thing and all the cool fan art people have made for it.
Continuing to support the game, continuing to be passionate and excited for what we do. It's really a big part of what keeps me going to continue to work on this game. It makes me just feel super humbled and excited to continue doing what I do, so.
El rumorista es fuerte.
Dolby is a proud partner of BlizzCon Line. Watch Shock vs. the World in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, only in the Dolby Access app.
Domande e risposte.
Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of BlizzCon Line.
Every year, the Arena World Championship in Mythic Dungeon International hosts the highest level PvP and PvE competitions Azeroth has ever seen. And this next year will be no different. In 2020, we introduced to the AWC circuit.
E come la fai l'arena che non puoi tutti con la mascherina?
And Europe to battle over 4 weekends. We are thrilled to announce the return of the AWC circuit in Shadowlands, with 2 seasons in 2021. Even the most seasoned arena veterans started online, and so can you. The road to Gladiator is open, but only for those willing to take on the challenge. To get started, queue up and find your team, then head over to our registration portal for the next cup in your region. Anyone can sign up and compete, but only the top 8 teams who come out the strongest in the cups
No.
will receive invitations to compete in the first season of the AWC circuit.
Mica di nuovo, te c'hai la formattazione facile però. Che cazzo combini che devi formattare?
Season 1 finals, a mid-season double elimination tournament with $200,000 on the line. Teams who
Ma
place
poi
top 6
scusami,
in the first
posso?
circuit season will
Se
automatically
formati così
qualify to compete in
spesso,
the second season
fatti
of circuit.
un boot dove c'è già dentro tutto, se no devi installare ogni volta. Fatti un'immagine.
The relegation tournament will feature open registration and will be double elimination. The top 2 teams of each region will receive
Così
an
ti carichi
invitation
l'immagine e
to the
via,
second
sei a
season
posto.
of the AWC circuit. After 2 seasons of circuit, only the most determined will remain to compete in the Arena World Championship.
Ho collegato un
2021
SSD sul mio mio amico per vedere se andava.
One gladiator, an aspiring challenger, or even somewhere in between. This is your path to glory. It's time to queue up.
Cioè aveva dei virus. Guardalo lì. No, non è lui adesso.
Hello everybody, welcome to BlizzCon Line. I'm so happy to have you here. My name is Andrea Toyes. I'm the Senior Casting and Voice Director at Blizzard, a job that I love
In che
very,
senso ti
very
sei
much,
impallato, scusa?
and I can't even begin to tell you how absolutely thrilled I am to be here with you today, to still bring voice actor panels to you despite the madness of the world.
Oh, sentiamo
I've got some
un po' le voci.
amazing friends with me, so hopefully the camera will show you that we've brought together some of our favorite actors from World of Warcraft. So if you're at home, I want you to clap right now because I am thrilled beyond measure to have these great people with me. I mean, we were like wild puppies before the shoot started because I haven't seen my people in so long. I just was overwhelmed with tears and joy. And I think for all of us, we haven't seen each other in a year. Yeah. And so we've all been heavily COVID tested. We've been following protocols so we could be here today to bring this love and this joy to you. Welcome to the World of Warcraft voice actor panel. We're calling this Voices of the Afterlife so we can really dive into Shadowlands and share the great work we've done. So yay for us. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining us. I think we're gonna have a great time. So I think we'll just start with some introductions to show you all my great friends that are here. I want to bite them and chew them and hold them so bad. So I might have done an illegal hug. I don't know, maybe. I'm not going to admit to it. But I'm just going to start. I've got my wonderful, delicious, amazing friend, Max Middleman. He plays Erelon in the gorgeous Ardenweald piece and in game. So Max, these are our tribe. This is Max.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
Hi.
Next to Max, I've got the one and only Sire Denathrius, also known as Ray Chase. Ray Chase, this is our tribe. This is Ray.
Hi, guys.
One of my favorite women on the whole planet, and I so deeply mean that.
My sister.
The fabulous Deborah Wilson, who plays Draka.
Minchia, guarda.
Everybody.
Hey, fam.
Yeah.
Hey, fam. Hey, World of Warcraft fam.
Oh my God, it's my girl. I love her. We have the fabulous. Steve and I talked. We couldn't have a panel about the afterlife without our Loa of Death, Buon Samedi, Alex Desert. So there he is right there.
Hey.
Alex, tribe, Alex.
How you doing, tribe?
Yes.
Good to see you again.
And of course, we couldn't talk Shadowlands. There's no way we could do Shadowlands without our fabulous, most beloved, our king, our Anduin Wrynn, also known as Josh Keaton. Josh,
thank you very much.
It's our people.
What's up, people?
Yes.
Good to see everybody.
And then none of this would be possible without our fearless leader, our lead narrative designer, who I also like to call Cuddles. He likes it when I call him Cuddles. This is Steve Denuser, lead narrative designer. Steve, it's our people, of course.
Hey, everybody. It's awesome to be here with you.
Yes. Let's just clap for ourselves since there's nobody here.
And let's clap for the fam.
Yeah. All of you.
Bravi.
You know, it's weird. BlizzCon, and Steve and I always talk about this. BlizzCon to me is better than Christmas. It's really, for all of us who've been, it's better than Christmas, and it felt so weird. I don't know how you guys were, but it felt really weird to not be there with you. So we're really gonna hang out and chat and just talk life, talk game, and talk about everything we've been through in the last year, because even though we couldn't be with you in Anaheim, we want to be with you here in spirit, so that's what we're going to do today. And hopefully the camera's getting our, what do you guys think about the set, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Awesome. Can I move in?
I know. Well, I told them, like, now, just so you guys can get this on camera, every year the voice actor stage better look like this or I'm not doing it. I'm just saying. So yeah, welcome. I love you. I'm so happy to be here. I want to talk to Steve first, because Steve and I talked a little bit. You know, this is the first game that Blizzard did in the pandemic, right? I mean, I think March 13th, we got the call that we were all going to work from home.
There's the call now.
Yes. We're going to work from home, and thus we had to figure out, we have to make Shadowlands happen from home. I think at that point we had very little content recorded. And so we did. So Steve, I want to talk to you because I haven't seen you. We've only talked a little bit in sessions. It's the first time I've seen Cuddles.
I know.
So Cuddles, what was it like having to make this game and write this game about the afterlife and these crazy heavy topics during a pandemic? I mean, for you personally, this is tough.
Well, it was tough, and it was a really scary time at first because when this started happening, we didn't know if we could have voices. We didn't know if we could pull it off even. And we had very frank conversations like, is this going to be a silent expansion, you know, or very minimal? And we talked about like, well, could we, you know, go back later after things are normal and record it then and put the stuff in? And you know, we, over the past few expansions especially, voice acting has just, we've taken it to new levels, and it's become such an important part of the game, and there's been so many memorable performances. And at the end of the day, we decided we had to find a way. We had to find a way to make it work. And thanks to our amazing sound team, our amazing engineers, we somehow pulled it together and once again executed at a really high level. And all the new actors who came in who've never been in WoW before, to have to bring everybody in and say, hey, you know, this is this afterlife that we're going to be laying out there for our fans. It was a huge undertaking, but just super proud of the way that everyone came together and showed such commitment to this. We knew we wanted to do the right thing for the game, and it was amazing.
Yeah, we really did have a talk at a certain point. I remember having a conversation either with you or WoW leadership, I forget, but maybe we have to ship this game with no VO because we didn't know. But before we even go into that, I mean, I know for myself I felt this way. To have to be creative when I was feeling down and blue and having to deliver and create was very difficult. So before we even get into the game, I want to know how all of you are doing. You know, 2020 was hard, and from that I want to segue into what it's like to create under a pandemic from your closet at home, by yourself, and you're scared about the world melting down. So before we even get into that, I had a rough year, man. Summer almost broke me. I had some dark days, and I'm just wondering how you got through it. How you doing? How's everybody?
I'm doing okay.
You got the wild COVID hair.
Yeah, I got the wild COVID hair. I've gained a few pounds.
More to cuddle.
A lot of junk food. lot of food delivery and picking up stuff and just eating whatever. But yeah, I mean, I have two young kids. They're both in school, so they've been doing their Zoom classrooms, and that's been kind of just the way it's been for the last year, is like having 2 Zoom sessions going there and then having one for recording VO for me. So there's like 3 Zoom sessions going pretty much all day long. But otherwise it hasn't been too bad. I mean, I've always been kind of an introvert anyway, so like just being at home has been okay. I do really miss, like I actually didn't really realize until today how much I missed the human contact, because I saw Max and I was like, what's up, man? And I saw Alex and I saw Deborah and I just met Ray, and it just, that's when you really start to realize how much you miss that human connection when you have a little taste of it. And yeah, so I mean that's how it's been for me. But funnily enough, I got back into World of Warcraft during the pandemic.
Good to hear.
So I started playing BFA again, and I started doing old content, and then now playing Shadowlands. So that's been a cool social thing for me to do. Just to go and feel like I'm getting out somewhere and questing and doing things with other people, and that's been kind of nice for my sanity.
Yeah, so World of Warcraft saved you, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like half the reason I do voiceover is because
they're super deadly, so you really get to use your mobility options to kind of escape that. There's things like the polar. You could be moving through these darker alleys, and as soon as you hear that polar spawn, it suddenly becomes like really spooky and kind of scary.
This very tall, elegant looking character that's blindfolded, 3 orbs that circle around her as her eyes, and we basically spun those orbs around her head as a big tell, launched them at the player, and then it activates this tractor beam, and it's bringing you in, and then you get this awesome like anticipation of the hair opening up so you know what's about to happen.
One thing we've just recently been experimenting with is this idea of elite units. We didn't want to
Va bene,
elite units
raga.
feel like they're just, oh, this guy's got double health and double damage.
Ce
We
n'è
want
per
to make sure
tutti
the
i
elite
gusti,
units
va.
feel like they have different
Non
behaviors
so
and
se
different attacks.
voi
So, for
giocherete
example,
a qualche
an
gioco della
all-night
BlizzCon,
grunt,
ma io sicuramente
normally just kind of he fires
non
his gun,
smetto.
he dies pretty simply.
Beh, no,
If you fight elite grunts, his weapon fires in a burst fire pattern. It's